Hellcat.
What's not to like about a bit of futuristic racing with its stylized graphics, hovering vehicles, missiles. It was set 75 years in the future at the time as well. Breakneck speeds. It had absolutely everything when it was released in late 1995 to draw people in. It was completely different visually, I think, than any other racing game we'd seen on the market at the time, and that is why it spawned sequel after sequel because of its fantastic initial success. Now, the Saturn version came out a little later than the PlayStation version. I think it was somewhere in '96 the Saturn version came out, and it probably wasn't quite as good as the PlayStation overall. But today we are taking a look at the Saturn version of Wipeout. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my review for Wipeout. Now, once you've got the game loaded up, you'll realise there's not really a whole lot of options going on in the game for a late game. You go into options, you basically got to load and save data, you control the configuration, viewing your best times and the audio config, and that is literally it. So you go and start race. You've got two classes, Venom class and Raven class, and you've got championship mode, time trial, and a single race. 4 teams to choose from, all with 2 drivers each. So there's a little bit of variety going on there in terms of each craft handles differently. If you look at the instruction manual, it tells you sort of like which one is which, and you've got 6 courses to try and play through as well. Now, the first thing you'll probably notice when you play it is that graphically it still looks pretty good. It doesn't look too bad. The tracks look pretty colourful and nice. The aircraft still looks futuristic. What you will notice as soon as you start going around the tracks, though, is pop-up in the distance. Initially, I wasn't taking too much notice of it because I was trying to concentrate on controlling the craft, but then eventually you will notice the pop-up. It's not horrific. It's not as bad as Daytona USA, but it's there, it's noticeable, and it is a little bit frustrating. The tracks in themselves though look good, the other crafts look good. I think there's definitely, for its time, it's a very good looking game. It does have the downside of having that horrible mesh effect when you shoot your missiles, and it has a mesh effect shield that goes around your craft as well. Now, things can get a little bit glitchy in this game as well. I've had a couple of instances when I was playing it for the review where my craft sort of glitched through the side of the track and then had to be carried back on by the support vehicle, kind of like Mario Kart, and that absolutely killed my chances in the race because it takes so long for that to happen. You can see the glitches here and there on the screen. It's not the most stable of game engines, if I put it that way. The tracks are varied though. Every single track has a unique look and feel to it, and some of them are slightly longer and shorter, so that adds a bit of variety as well. And they all tend to look relatively good. I definitely wouldn't turn it on and say this game looks horrific by today's standards. That's definitely not the issue that I had with the game, even with the sometimes the glitches and the mesh effects and all that. It's all sort of part and parcel of what you'd expect from an early 3D game anyway, in my opinion. Now you get a wide variety of music for each track, definitely. I think that's probably something that suits the game really well. The soundtracks, they're kind of upbeat, futuristic style music. I can't put the term on the kind of music it is. It's not really the kind of music I'd listen to, but it suits the game. They're not exactly memorable tunes. You're definitely not going to be humming them as you're walking around town or anything like that, but it suits the game. I can't fault the music one bit. One thing I can fault though is the fact the game is just genuinely pretty quiet overall. Your craft doesn't make any sound. There's no engine sounds, no braking sounds. It's just peculiar that it's almost like you're playing a demo and it's not quite been finished and they've released it anyway. It's kind of like what I'd expect on a demo disc, it is, in all fairness, and it's just a bit frustrating, and that takes a lot of the game excitement away from the game for me. It's just odd. You get sound effects when you shoot your missiles and when you activate your shield or when you hit the wall, but your craft itself, for some reason, doesn't have any sound effects, and it's just bizarre. It's just really strange, and I just can't get past that one bit. Despite the music being fine, I just feel like there's not enough sound going on in the actual races themselves, and it is something that kind of pulls the game back a peg or two for me. I'm kind of going to group the rest of my talking together, because its lifespan is kind of dictated by its gameplay, and this game is hard to play. I remember the original Wipeout being hard when I played it a long time ago, and I felt like Wipeout 2097 corrected that, if my memory's correct. Thinking about that, I don't actually have Wipeout 2097 currently to play, so it's hard. It's just really hard. The controls just feel ropey, and your vehicle bashes around the track as you pick up speed. Sometimes you go too fast down a hill, and the vehicle just seems to like grind on the track, and it's frustrating. It doesn't happen to the computer characters, and they just overtake you. It's just annoying, and you don't feel like you've got very good control of your vehicle at all times. I mean, I played a lot of races, and my best position I came was 4th, and I had to go on single races to be able to play the other tracks, because in championship mode I couldn't do it. And I guess with a lot of practice I could get used to the floatiness of the controls, but it's not enjoyable anymore. And I think at the time people got caught up with the way it looked, the music and stuff like that, the fact it was this futuristic hover style racing game, and there isn't really anything else like that around at the time, and that kind of took people's attention away from the fact it actually plays a bit ropey. And that's the biggest problem for me, Wipeout, is the way it plays. You can't get past it, and I can't really recommend it anymore because of that, unless you want to see what I mean by it, by going out and buying it and playing it yourself. It is ropey, it's tough to control, it's frustrating. You crash and you grind against the side of the course, and if you grind against the side of the course, your speed is killed. I mean, I've not managed to get around a race ever without bashing into the side or losing time from clipping edges, banging into walls when you go too fast, hit a booster, all that kind of stuff. It impacts on the game massively, and whilst it looks good, it's got good music, and the style of the game is appealing. The way it plays kills it, and that kills the lifespan of the game as well for me. It kills the enjoyment. There's no 2-player mode, obviously, nothing like that. I think on the PlayStation you could use the link the consoles together, but off the top of my head, don't think you can do that on the Saturn, so it's really just a 1-player only experience, which is a bit of a letdown too. So all in all, Wipeout at the time was very appealing to people because of the graphics, the way it looks, that kind of thing, but the gameplay doesn't hold up over time, and it is very hard to recommend Wipeout in this day and age. So that was Wipeout. £10 this will cost you at CEX. Probably not worth going out to buy, if I'm perfectly honest. It's not really that appealing to play anymore, like I said in the video. If your opinion is different to mine, though, let me know down below whether you have managed to be better at the game than me. I just found it very, very difficult to win, or even come close to winning any races, if I'm honest. But maybe I'm just bad at the game. Maybe I needed more and more practice to get used to it. But it did really great on me when you just grind up the side of the track, and you just come to a halt, and it really ruins your momentum and enjoyment in the game. Anyway, that was Wipeout. I'll have a think about what I'm going to do for my next review, and I shall see you then. Goodbye for now.